Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Steven, aka Stevenspeaks. I'm joined today by my friend, really good friend, Sean Dinwiddie. Do your Howard introduction.
Hi, my name is Sean Dinwiddie. I'm a freshman political science major from Atlanta, Georgia.
So today we're gonna do a video on the elections, specifically about the midterm elections, but we're gonna give you like a little background knowledge of the history of elections and some information that people may or may not know about the different types of elections. So yeah, like this is probably a trend or a video that I'm gonna do more often about like different facts about politics and stuff like that. And that's the goal, to continue to do that, because that's why I made this YouTube channel. But yeah, so let's get into the first is, what are our thoughts on the elections as a whole?
My thoughts on the election as a whole, I was kind of let down, but it was because we had so much pride as a group of like teenagers who were like very inspired to vote this year, and we turned out in record numbers. But then like it's not that we didn't accomplish what we wanted to accomplish. We got really far in what we needed to do. It's just our goal just got stumped by Republicans, in my opinion.
Yeah, so my thoughts on the elections as a whole, I think it was a lot of progress. Like, some people may disagree, saying that like, Beto laws, Gillum
Conceded,
didn't lose yet. Abrams lost theoretically, like statistically. She hasn't lost officially yet. But I think those specific races were closer than we thought, especially in those battleground states where it's like Texas, Florida, and Georgia, where they're historically Republican, and we made so much progress where they were very, very close to winning, but they didn't. So, I think it's pretty good that we got as close as we did. But I think there's a lot more work to do, and I think we shouldn't give up. And I think that's what potentially might happen, what has happened in the past, where, we support a candidate a lot, and then people revert back and like, what's the point of voting? The person I voted for the last race lost, but we should continue the trend and keep going. So a little history about elections.
There's a difference between general and primary elections. Primary elections decide who's representing each respected party. This determines Democrats versus Republicans.
The statewide primary happens, it depends on the state when. Some of them start as early as March, and some of them start as late as November. The second type of election is the general elections, and that's the one like a lot of people usually hear about, is the actual race itself. The general election happens on the first Tuesday in November for all races. So you could hear like about midterms happens every for 2 years within the 4 years of a presidential Yeah, the 4 years that the president serves.
4-year term.
4-year term. Yeah, the term of the president. So happens in the middle of that. So that's a general election.
All right.
So now we're gonna talk about the recent midterm elections.
So we had Andrew Gillum versus Rob DeSantis for the Florida governor. This race ended up really close. Gillum decided to concede really early, not considering like the final vote and the final count. So as of now, there's most likely going to be a recount to see who actually won the race. And yeah.
So thanks to our wonderful professor at Howard University, Dr. Kenesha Grant. Shout out to Howard University and Dr. Grant. She taught us about in the state legislature, I believe, that in Florida state legislature, if it's a gap between less than 0.5%, then it automatically does a automatic recount, where everyone has to do a computerized manual recount and recount every single vote. And that's what happened in the Gillum race, because the reason when Gillum conceded, it happened. He was down by a large margin, but after all the other counties came in, then the margin became a lot closer, which means that eventually got to the 0.4% margin, which triggered an automatic recount. So they counted the absentees, like he said, and the provisional ballots and stuff like that. So that's what's happening in Florida right now.
Moving to Georgia in the Stacey Abrams versus Brian Kemp race, this election was very interesting because Kemp was the former Secretary of State for Georgia who presided over all of the voting registrations and all types of voting in Georgia. It comes into question why Kemp did not quit his job before starting his campaign. Why was he allowed to watch over votes? And there's been a lot of suspicions and rumors about him hiding a lot of voter registration booths and polls during the election, and we think that has a big impact towards the voter turnout for the Georgia election.
Yeah. So what's happening in the Georgia election is that they're I believe they're going to go in a runoff. So the thing with Georgia specifically, and I believe according to Dr. Grant, that Georgia is the only state that has where the person that gets elected has to win more than 50%, 50 plus one percent of the overall vote. In terms of Abrams, I believe that he currently holds, as of
50,
like
50.2.
Yeah.
And she holds like 48 point something. Like that.
And getting really close.
48.
And there also the same thing happening with the Florida race, where they're still counting provisional races and provisional ballots, and also the absentee ballots, which makes the margin become a lot closer, which means that they will hopefully go into a runoff. They're still doing the recount and counting all those, and then hopefully they will go to.
And then not only that, it's also that Abrams was recently awarded. A judge voted in her favor of, what was it, Kemp? It was something about.
Yeah, Kemp rejecting, I think, like a few thousand votes or something like that. There was a lot of voting machines that were kept inside of a warehouse in downtown Atlanta, rather than like dispersing them, and that's why like some of the lines were really long, and specifically like black communities that would vote
voter
for
repression.
Yeah, voter repression. So the NAACP won a lawsuit against that too.
Yeah.
So, finally, how can we move forward?
How can we move forward?
I think we just need to keep the trend. I
think this is just a starting point. Like, we might not have accomplished getting all of our Democratic nominees or candidates into the office, but then how close the numbers showed in this election shows, like, in the future, like, our generation and just other Democratic voters are just going to keep rising and rising. Yeah,
and personally, like, at Howard, we're very politically active, and so, for example, our Howard University Student Association hosted a watch party, and being at that watch party for like a lot of for a long period of time, I got to saw a lot of students who were actively engaged. I saw students who were crying after like they realized Beto and Gillum lost or conceded, and it just showed that like we are very passionate, and so the way we can move forward is using that passion, that anger that we had from this election and the 2016 election to continue to like move forward and fuel the progress or process to like get where we want to be eventually, and elect people to like actually look like us and that are in our best interest. So yeah, so thank you for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Yep.
Run that back, turbo. You can get the biggest Chanel back in the store if you want it. I gave them the drill, they sucked it up, I got them.